toward achieving a particular end. This is where you really get involved in consciousness, in the sense that consciousness is usually directed at something. It intends something. It is not a mere being aware, but it moves from awareness to movement toward a goal, toward achieving a particular end. But in order to do that, we have to achieve a certain level of psychological arousal and physiological arousal. So then ultimately consciousness is a type of intelligence. And by intelligence we're talking about the fact that it allows the person to adapt to changes in the world and in himself or herself. To respond to stimuli, to respond to the environment in a way that maintains the integrity of the person and advances the interests of the person. It allows the person to be creative and inventive and innovative. Intelligence is about the capacity to adapt to change. It's not a score on a piece of paper. 100 IQ doesn't mean anything in and of itself. Ultimately, intelligence is tested in the real world. It involves the capacity to solve a problem that confronts you. To engage yourself in creative thinking and innovative thinking, to use knowledge in a way that you can resolve problems and issues. That's what intelligence is about. To respond to changes in the environment and in oneself in a way that it advances your interests. So it is not solely measured by knowing who was the first president of the United States or the other kinds of things you see on the intelligence test. Then if consciousness allows us to adapt to the world, then consciousness is a type of intelligence. Consciousness will determine the effects that the world has on us and the effect we have on the world. If we let these other people determine the state of our consciousness, we are going to be responsive to certain things and not to others. Certain things are going to have effects on us and not others. We will love our enemies and love those that abuse us. We will think the greatest thing next to hog heaven is living next door to a white person. We think the essence of freedom is laying up in the bed with those who have degraded us. We measure freedom. Yeah. We think the essence of freedom is to carry our money to white folk. Even though they don't want to see us, they hate our guts, they don't want to live with us. We go in and buy expensive things and walk out feeling good about ourselves. Foolish. The black man is the white man's bottom hoe. That's right. You heard Iceberg Slim talk about it, didn't you? Bottom hoe. The pimp. Got a bunch of women out there, but the bottom hoe sticks with them no matter what happens. Keeps the other ones in line and brings them that money. Brings them that money. Works day and night. Takes abuse from the Johns and everybody else, but what? Brings them that money. Slaps us at it. Get back out there and get to work and bring me some more. Curses her. Treats her bad. She still sticks with it. She's obsessed by dressing them up, by keeping them in money, by making them look fine. How different is it then, black men, to go to war for white men? To fight his battles, to be the first to die in the Revolutionary War. And after every war, to be strung up and hung and rejected and thrown back into the dung heap of life. And yet we hang in and stick with it, don't we? Yes. Yeah.
Take your time, man. Take your time.
Others who haven't fought with him or for him, who haven't slaved for him, who often have even fought against him, can walk right in the country and take the prize right out of my hand. And we feel obligated to support them and give them the money as well. Yeah, this is what kind of mentality do we have? But that's what we've done, isn't it? We can fight for them, but we can't fight for ourselves.
Right, right.
We can study war as long as we are fighting for them, but we can't study war to go against them. It's like these warriors you see out on these basketball courts. Warriors you see out on the football courts. I've told people, what is a basketball game but a game of war? Have you seen it? Do you look at it as a game of war, men? Huh? How many people see that as war going on out there on the court? Or is it just entertainment? This bug for you. What is it about? The games of boys are the games of war, the primordial game that begins to set them up for warriorhood. The choosing of sides and the struggles and the games they fight with each other is a part of building up their character and their personality and their psyche for the greater battles that they must face as grown men. And there's a connection then between the games of youth and the games of life. Yes, but we forget that, don't we? That line that runs down the middle of the basketball court is a demarcation of territory. That's a borderline. Yes. And one of the major purposes of the team is to do what? To defend that territory. Don't you hear the people in the hall? Defense, defense, defense. Well, that's what it's about. You are there to what? Defend your territory against the incursion of other men. And to keep them from coming into that territory and scoring against your defeat. What's the other half of that game? To gain the capacity to do what? Move into their territory and score against them and triumph and win a victory. And how do you do that? You organize one relative to the other. You create hierarchies and you maximize, as I talked about earlier, the individual talents on your team. So though you have some who can shoot better, you organize the team in a way that you get to that ball so that it goes in. And others who are better guards, and others who are this, and the others who are that, coordinate their activity. And the ultimate objective of the game is to see that the team wins, and each one is to subordinate their activities to what? The team. This is what this is about. But why is it black men don't see this as a game of war and a game of life? And they play it. Why is it they'll even play white men on the courts and they won't play white men in real life? Is it only possible that they can play these kind of games under the direction of white men in a league owned by white men? They'll wear uniforms. They'll call themselves by the same name. I'm a bull, I'm a Nick, I'm a... We huddle and talk and pray. We, eat together, sing together, and we suffer the agony of defeat together and celebrate all of this together. And these same black men who wear the same uniform, identify, who subordinate their own individual impulses in the interest of the team, who defend their territory gallantly, and all of this, when they step off the court, you say, why don't we call ourselves African? I'm an individual. Yeah, all of a sudden he's an individual. I don't subordinate myself to nobody. I'm, an eat-free and individual. But the white boys play the game where? On and off the court. The white male collective Yes. And even though they're no longer on the basketball court, they're still playing the game where it counts. We see these young men out here in the streets who will defend their turf, their territory, and try to invade the territories of others, and they shoot and kill each other out here over that. They have fights. I knew one young man there, he could hardly leave his housing project because if he stepped over that street, one gang would attack him, he stepped over the other one, another one would attack him. And they have their colors, you know, and they have their uniforms. You know, what bothers me though is you can see this intense territoriality in 12-year-olds, 13-year-olds, 14, 15-year-olds. What happens to it when we become grown men? Now we let these same men that these same boys we would attack just for showing up in the neighborhood, Koreans, Puerto Ricans, this one, no matter who they were, if they were what? Different. We now would let these same men come into the neighborhood and take out all of the land. Yeah. No sense of territoriality whatsoever. Leave our children impoverished. Leave and just rob the nation of its wealth. How is it that a black man gets that kind of consciousness? How do you lose that sense of consciousness? How can you defend territory on a basketball court and defend territory when you're young and not have that sense of territoriality when you grow older, when it really matters in a more deeper sense, in a deeper sense, when it involves feeding your children, providing employment for yourself, stabilizing your family, maintaining that money so that you can build the kind of institutions necessary to build the character in our children and to develop the kind of character we need as a people. What happens there? How did that consciousness come about? How do we rationalize this situation? And yet we do. So the same people who can't even defend their own neighborhoods are the same people that you can troop over to Arabia, troop over to all parts of the world to fight. Yes, you're the white man's bottom hole. You better know to deal with it. Yes. Yes. That's one of the reasons why you're so mean-spirited and want to hurt people. Because you don't want to come to terms with it. We don't want to deal with it. Yeah. And that's why we displace the aggression onto each other and onto our women and onto our children and so forth. Because we haven't come to terms that we got to deal with this white man. And that if it takes us 1 century to do it, in the end he must come down and be brought down. Yeah. And if you're not about that, and if that's not a part of your heart and your soul, if you're not a part of the black man's brotherhood to bring that about, then how can you call yourself a man? How can you fully be a part of that?
Teach on it, brother.
Yes. Because the only other alternative is not life. You may get short-term life, but the ultimate thing in not making this choice is ultimately to lay yourself open to genocide and destruction. Because these whites have a reputation for getting rid of people they have no use for. They did it to Indian males and the Indian people. They're not gonna hesitate to do it to you. Oh, you don't believe me. You figure you can lean on the Lord. Don't you? Yeah. You figure you're gonna pray. Get away with it. You know what interests me sometimes? Why is it that the people who pray the most have the most of their children in the jails of this country?
Teach on it, brother. Teach it.
Yeah.
Teach it.
That's, you know, we need to ask those kind of questions.
Teach that truth, brother.
How is it that the people who don't see color to treat all people alike, who don't get into racism, that most of their children are in jails? And the other ones who see color, the other ones who deal exclusively with their ethnicity, their children are outside and their children are being fed and so forth. Is the reward then for not seeing color, for being non-racist, for not talking hate language, going to jail. Well, you better start talking hate language then. You know? Answer me this. Why is it? Okay, we'll have to. Why is it? You see, we talk about this business in this kind of situation. If God is no respecter of people, if God loves us all the same, not one group any better than the other, you get whole peoples being wiped out from the face of the earth. Did God love the Indians less? But no, you say he loves everybody the same. It's a dangerous kind of love, baby. Then it must say then God loving us all the same is not necessarily our basic protection. Because despite our being loved all the same and not one being held above the other, we see all kinds of inequalities in the world. And we've seen certain groups destroyed and wiped away from the face of the earth. And you know what I find amazing about that too? Is that the people who've done the greatest part of the wiping away are the people who worship the same God we do. Yeah. They pray to Jesus like we do, don't they? And yet somehow we got enslaved, and yet somehow we are brutalized and killed out of it. We got to deal with some real issues here somewhere. There's something not quite right here. You know what else I find interesting? That those who were supposed to be the chosen people of God really got the others. So apparently it takes a little more than just praying. It takes a little more than just feeling like you got a special relationship to survive on this earth. Being the favorite of God apparently is not quite enough to protect you. And I can see why to a degree, because God has already blessed you with the mind. He's already blessed you with the brain. But we got some people who think it's holy not to use it.
Teacher. Right.
Yeah.
Amen. Teacher.
Yeah. They think the pursuit of knowledge is a sin. The pursuit of learning is a sin. Even though this is a knowledge machine. This is a learning machine. This is a thinking machine. This is an analyzing machine, a remembering machine. That God must have put it in our heads for some reason. And for us not to use it is blasphemy. And maybe that's why those who don't use it end up ultimately going the way of perishing from the face of the earth. But we have this peculiar thing then of receiving the gift from God, as we say, and then refusing to use those gifts. And yet we expect it to be protected by God when we reject the gifts he gives us. And you know I've talked about the gifts that black children have. Gifts second to none. We're given the best gifts in the world. We were the first people God ever even created.
Teacher. All right. Yes, sir.
We have minds that are second to none. Yet somehow we've been deceived into thinking that to use them is to be non-black. That means our consciousness has been created by someone else. Consciousness then is a power. It's a type of power. How much power consciousness has depends upon its level and its organizational state and its functional state.